Okay, Hare Krishna and Namaskar and greetings to everyone. Today we are starting session number 19 of our systematic study of Bhagavad Gita under Gita Amritam Rasamalayam. And today we are indeed very privileged to have His Grace Arjun Sakha Prabhu with us, and who has kindly agreed to share his wisdom and thoughts for verses 3.4 to 3.10 of Bhagavad Gita, that is Karma Yoga. It is quite early morning for him there, 5:30 in the morning in Seattle, and so we shall wait. We are eagerly waiting to hear from him. Over to you, Arjun Sakha.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Very happy and very honored to be back at the service of all the devotees here at Gita Amritam Rasamalayam. As mentioned, we are all in different time zones. With here in the US, it's about 5:30, very early in the morning. Um, so I'll try to speak a little soft because the neighborhood is very quiet. Um, but again, very, very happy to be here in some service to all of you all. Um, we hear and chant about the eternal instructions of the Supreme Lord. That is the song of God, in the form of Bhagavad Gita. The last time, I think, a couple of months ago, when I had the opportunity to interact and serve all of you all, we did the overview of the first chapter of the Gita. And it feels very happy to know that now we are in the third chapter. And may in this way, with everyone's presence and eagerness and enthusiasm, may we keep going from third chapter to fifth chapter to eighth and tenth and so on and so forth, all the way till the 18th chapter. Before we get started, let's chant the Mangalacharan prayers, also called as the invocation prayers to seek auspiciousness of our spiritual superiors like Srila Prabhupada, and then get started in our today's discussion. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakhaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Priyuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगे श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनेति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवाधि पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Let me quickly go ahead and share my screen. Can someone confirm if they can see?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, perfect. So, once again, thank you all for being here. This is the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita called as Karma Yoga. And because this is a new chapter, I was told we are doing verses 4 to 10. So, I thought the human mind is such, it's very volatile. And whatever we are told, even one day prior, we end up forgetting what to speak of what was discussed 1 week ago. The mind is such, jaldi jaldi bhul jate hain. We remember only things that are extremely essential. That's why when in laptops we see whenever we have to log in our mobile, we have forgot password. Even passwords that are so secret, that also we end up forgetting. So mind is such we forget. So I thought why not it's best to even go through the three verses that I think Sham Sundar Prabhu has already explained, but in a very quick fashion, we'll skim through those verses and then go from verse 4 all the way to verse 10. So we see what is happening here in the first and second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. In the first chapter, we see there is observing of the armies. Arjuna wants to observe the armies. And as he's observing the armies, there are four reasons that he presents to Krishna not wanting to fight. Even though he's a Kshatriya and doesn't fear anyone, he gives four reasons why he doesn't want to fight. And we see that in the last about 15 verses from verse chapter 1, verse 28 till verse 46, he gives the reasons of compassion, enjoyment, saintliness, and destruction of family, kula, etc. And it's only in chapter 2 that Krishna actually starts speaking. The first chapter, it's more of Arjuna who's speaking and Sanjaya giving an overview to Dhritarashtra, etc. But it's only in chapter 2 that Krishna really starts speaking to Arjuna when Arjuna decides to ask a question. So there is indecision. And then finally, Arjuna is surrendering to Lord Krishna. We see Adi Shankaracharya, who is so revered and so worshipable. He very beautifully in his Bhaja Govindam verses that are so popular. Shankaracharya, he says, Bhagavad-Gita kinjidadita Ganga jalalava pita Sakridapi yena murari samarcha kriyate tasya yamena na charcha. If someone doesn't want charcha, charcha means discussion. यदि किन्हीं को चर्चा नहीं चाहिए यमराज के साथ, he is not a person that we like to have discussion. Any other person of this world, people like to have a discussion. Hmm? Yamaraj, interestingly, is one of the Mahajans, very glorious personality. But every other Mahajan, we will like to have a conversation except one Yamaraj. Yamaraj ke baat aata hai, to people are like very scared. Hmm? So Adi Shankaracharya says, if there is one thing that is talking with Yamaraj, if you don't want to have that in your life, if you never want to have a conversation with Yamaraj, then there are three things that you should be doing. One, Bhagavad Gita Kinjidadita. Even if you study little from Bhagavad Gita, what we are doing. Actually, this is not little, this is systematic study. So this is more than little. But Adi Shankaracharya says, Bhagavad Gita Kinjita. Even Kinjita, little you study from the Bhagavad Gita. Second, Ganga Jal Lava Kanika Pita. You have little Ganga water. गंगा वाटर थोड़ा पान कर लिए. और थर्ड, सकृदपि येन मुरारी समर्चा. Or if you discuss about Murari, the demon of the enemy Mura, that is again Krishna. If you do all these three things, or even one of the three things, Adi Shankaracharya, he says that person will never have a conversation with Yamaraj. Guaranteed. What are the three things? One, little conversation, little discussion about Bhagavad Gita. Second, little Ganga water. Or third, discussions about Krishna, Murari Shri Krishna. So it's very interesting that here we are not just discussing Bhagavad Gita, but we are also discussing about Krishna. So the first and third activities are naturally taken care of. So we see in chapter 2, we have seen already in the past that how Arjuna was horrified at the thought of killing his relatives, and Krishna begins his teaching because Arjuna saw all his family members, and there was Bhishma and Drona, and all those people were there, and it was very difficult for him to even stand in front of them, leave alone fighting. And then we see Krishna speaks about Sankhya philosophy, Karma Kanda, Buddhi Yoga, and symptoms of self realized soul, so on and so forth, not getting into the details. But if we primarily see here, Arjuna did not want to fight. Arjuna wanted to run away from the battlefield. And Krishna convinces him to fight. That, my dear Arjuna, it is a duty of a Kshatriya to fight, so you should be in the battlefield. Now it's very interesting. Krishna tells Arjuna to not fight. He tells Arjuna to stay in the battlefield and fight. But interestingly, when it is Krishna's own turn, when he was fighting Jarasandh, Jarasandh attacked Mathura 17 times. And in the 18th time, Krishna, who speaks about not running away from the battlefield, that same Krishna ran away from the battlefield. He who is telling Arjuna, my dear Arjuna, आपको रणभूमि छोड़कर नहीं भागना है. You're a Kshatriya, you should fight. But that same Krishna ran away. So understanding Krishna is very difficult. He who speaks something does completely opposite when it was Jarasandha. But the question is why? Why did Krishna do something that he doesn't preach to Arjuna? And the understanding is 17 times Jarasandha had attacked Mathura. And when it was now the 18th time, Krishna thought to himself, if I draw his attention to some other place which has a better army, better infantry, etc., the people of Mathura will be saved. Because Mathura is not a place where there is very strong army. So if Jarasan keeps attacking this way, it's going to be very difficult for the people of Mathura. And interestingly, the 18th time when Jarasan attacked, he attacked with Kala Yavan, one of his friends. So Krishna, he drew the attention of Jarasan by apparently running away from Mathura and going to Dwaraka, so that now the attacks are straight on Dwaraka, and Dwaraka is well equipped to fight Jarasan. So did Krishna really run away? No. Krishna had a more strategic plan to make sure that the people of Mathura are safe. And Krishna is very interesting. Even if he runs away from the battlefield, he gets a temple, Ranchoda. If Arjuna ran away from the battlefield, it's not glorious. Krishna speaks the whole Gita to convince him not to run away. But Krishna, when he runs away, Bhagwan ko naam milta hai, Ran Chod Raha hai. You go to Dakur, very famous, Ran Chod Raha hai. So, whatever Krishna does, he lies, he steals, he runs away. Bhagwan Pujaniya, he is glorious. So that's one instance from the life of Krishna that we see where apparently he did something which is very different to what he's preaching here to Arjuna. Here we see in the 18 chapters that we have, this is the third chapter, which is Karma Yoga. Chapter 2 was contents of the Gita summarized. And chapter 1 was of course, observing the battlefield. And on the bottom left, you see we have the 5 elements that Gita talks about. You have Kala, which is time, Karma, Prakriti, Jiva, and Ishvara. And as and when the Gita progresses, we will see Krishna ends up explaining more in detail. Now, here in chapter 3 that we're discussing, what's happening is the first 2 verses, Arjuna is having a confusion whether to renounce or whether to fight, whether there should be renunciation or whether there should be action. Verses 3 to 9 is Nishkam Karma Yoga, better than Jnana for Arjuna. Work and be detached, offering fruits to Krishna, which results in purification, which we will see in detail. Verses 10 to 16, it is from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga. 17 to 35 is Nishkam Karma Yoga to set the right example. And finally, 36 to 43 is the Supreme Lord speaks about the dangers of lust. Third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is where Krishna emphasizes a lot on this aspect of lust, as to how it is very difficult for the living entity to cross over, if not for the mercy of Bhagavan, Sri Krishna. So this is a quick overview of what's happening here in the third chapter. But the big burning question for Arjuna still is, should I renounce, त्याग, क्या हमें त्याग करना है या काम करना है? You have 2 kinds of people, one who work, as we call them workaholic, and second is those who preach renunciation. Renounce everything and sit at one place. So Arjuna is having this burning question, should I fight or should I just renounce? Because Krishna, I think that's what you're trying to explain. Maybe I'll just renounce and take sannyas and sit at one place, or should I fight? My dear Krishna, I don't know what to do. Hmm? So Krishna here tries to address this point, which is better, and this is more in context to our daily life. As we are learning Bhagavad Gita, should I still go to office? Should I still work? Should I still be there in my profession? Should I still make money? Or is it that after learning Gita, now that I've become devotee, chodo ghar bar chalo Haridwar? Should I leave everything and go and sit in a temple? What are we supposed to do? So Krishna tries to address this. In the first verse, Krishna very beautifully, Arjuna is speaking here. Arjuna uvacha jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tatkim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava. Arjuna is saying, O Janardana, O Keshava, why do you urge me to engage in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work? Krishna, if you think intelligence is better than fruitive work, why are you asking me to fight? And here we see that he calls or addresses Krishna by two names, Janardana and Keshava. Hmm. Janardana, we have seen in the past, is the name of Krishna called as conqueror of wealth. And Keshava has multiple meanings. Hmm. One understanding of Keshava is as it is given by our previous teachers, previous acharyas. So BVB, as you see here, stands for Baladev Vidya Bhushan, and VCT stands for Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So the Bhagavad Gita that we have, Prabhupada used Baladev Vidya Bhushan's commentary called as Gita Bhushan to write this. So all the Gita that we study here is pretty much coming from Baladev Vidya Bhushan. So Baladev Vidya Bhushan he writes, the word Keshava here means, the word Ka means Brahma, Isha means Shiva, and Va means Vayase, to control. So Krishna is called Keshava because he is the controller of even Brahma and Shiva. So Arjuna is telling, my dear Keshava, you control Brahma and Shiva, please control my life. Please tell me what to do. I am there in a despondency where I am not sure what to do, my dear Lord. Raksha kijiye hamari. So there we find Prabhupada in the purport, he very beautifully says that Krishna consciousness is not inertia. And Prabhupada translates that as inertness or inactivity. Arthat, Krishna consciousness doesn't mean sitting at one place. Krishna never preaches that you sit at one place and leave your work. No. And we see in the points that Prabhupada gives in the purport of the first verse of this third chapter, he says that if someone is a warrior or a household, everyone can sacrifice their activity for Krishna. But without being trained in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, it is not advisable to chant the holy name of Krishna in a secluded place for cheap popularity. Prabhupada really condemns this. And in point C, he writes, one may acquire some cheap adoration from the innocent public. It can be Bhagavad Sapta, or sometimes we have many modern day speakers who speak about Ras Leela. Qualification will not be there, purification will not be there. They will speak on very high topics. Or we see where speakers or kirtaniyas, they will charge money. भगवान के बारे में प्रस्तुति कम करते हैं और ध्यान ज्यादा धन में है, पैसे में है. Prabhupada condemns this. And if you see in one of the lectures that Prabhupada gave in 1968 in Los Angeles, Prabhupada writes or Prabhupada says, there is no rejection of anything but dovetailing everything. This is the process. Do everything but in Krishna consciousness. If you are a fighter, fight for Krishna. If you're a businessman, all right. Do Krishna business for Krishna. If you're something else, do that for Krishna. That is wanted. That is Krishna consciousness. To Krishna. Don't tell everything with Krishna. So Prabhupada makes it very clear that if you're a householder or even a warrior or a homemaker or whatever your profession is, do that, but do that in continuation with Krishna consciousness. दोनों साथ साथ में कीजिए. It shouldn't happen that you leave your work, you leave your profession and only do bhakti. Krishna never preached that to Arjuna. He inspired Arjuna to fight, and through the fight, also dovetailed that as a service to the Supreme Lord. We're talking about some Prabhupada here. He uses the word cheap adoration and cheap popularity. One time, one man he came to our ISKCON Vrindavan temple, 1975, and Prabhupada was there, and he was rolling on the floor and he was crying Radhe, 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 Radhe. So the disciples of Prabhupada who were there, they were very perplexed because they had never seen this before, first time. So they went to Prabhupada and said, Swamiji, there's one person who's rolling in our Krishna Balaram temple crying Radhe, Radhe. What should we do? Prabhupada said, tell the watchman to take a stick and whip him. लाठी लीजिए और उन्हें बोलिए उन्हें उन्हें मारे. So the disciples were very confused. Prabhupada said, if after beating, if he is humble, then he is a pure devotee. But if he gets angry, then he's a cheater. So the disciples said, okay. And what to speak of watchmen? They themselves took the stick and they went to beat him. But that person looking at the stick ran away. He didn't do anything, he just ran away. So when they came back to Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada said that is cheap popularity, doing activities for cheap adoration. Prabhupada said that's not what we preach. We are preaching pure Krishna consciousness where we want to dovetail all our activities for the pleasure of Krishna. So those are some synopses that is happening in the first verse of this chapter. In the second verse, we find Arjuna is speaking. व्यामिश्रणेव वाक्येन बुद्धिं मोहाय सीव मे तदेकं वद निश्चित्य येन श्रेयोहम अपूनयम्. In the previous chapter, that is in chapter 2, we find Krishna has spoken about many various paths, many paths, but they have been unsystematically explained. And Arjuna here wants to clear the confusion so that any common man could accept them without misinterpretation. Because when many paths are presented, it can be very confusing. So it's almost like Arjuna knows that in the future there's going to be a Gita Amritam Rasamalayam, and because people should not have any doubts, Arjuna on our behalf is asking Krishna that, my dear Lord, you please confuse, or you have confused me in the earlier chapter. Now you please help me to understand what am I supposed to do? Should I fight or should I just renounce? So there is confusion, and you see Arjuna's photo. He's almost doing like hitting his forehead, and that's pretty much sometimes when we are in anxious or we are in anxiety and when we are frustrated and when things don't go our way, that's what we do. Hey Bhagwan. So he's also doing that. Hey Bhagwan. And for him, Bhagwan is standing right in front of him. Bhagwan, aap bacha lijiye. So here we see the essence is Arjuna is confused, taking the meaning of buddhi as intelligence, and he is feeling by the use of his intelligence he should avoid all activities. So Arjuna is feeling that, my dear Krishna, if you have said all this, maybe I should just leave the battle and just maybe not fight. In Bhagavad-Gita 2:11 onwards, Krishna explained Gyan, difference between body and soul. And 239 onwards, he describes Nishkam Karma Yoga. But Krishna doesn't tell which one is superior. And as we mentioned in the previous slide, he gives different paths, but really doesn't emphasize or press upon the point of इसमें से सबसे बड़ा क्या है, करना क्या है. He gives different paths, but he just leaves it upon Arjuna. One time Prabhupada was there in a car, and this was car conversation. And one disciple asked Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, who are better? Are the karmis better? So karmis means those who do activities but don't dovetail to Krishna, or are the devotees better who do activities and then dovetail to Krishna? So the disciple asked that, Prabhupada, are karmis better or are the devotees better? And Prabhupada, when he heard that, Prabhupada, he started laughing, and Prabhupada said, the karmis think they are right, and the devotees also think they are right. But the difference is devotees are right and the karmis are wrong. Prabhupada said both think that they are right, but the difference is devotees are right. Why? Because all the activities that the devotees are doing, they are also working like the karmis. But with those activities, they're offering the fruits, they're offering that actions back to the lotus feet of Krishna. So Prabhupada said, we are right, We think we are right, they think they are right, but the difference is we are right and they are wrong. It's typical Prabhupada style. So here again we see there is um, confusion in the mind and the heart of Arjuna, not knowing how to proceed. Verse 3, now Krishna starts speaking. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Lokesmin Dvividha Nishtha Pura Prokta Mayanaka Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam. The blessed Lord said, O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who realize the self. Some are inclined to understand him by empirical philosophical speculation, and others are inclined to know him by devotional work. So Krishna is saying, I have already told you, Arjuna, दो प्रकार के लोग हैं. There are two kinds of people. One who will ask lot of questions, lot of speculation, but after speculation, still they will not surrender. That is one kind. प्रश्न पूछेंगे 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 लेकिन भक्ति नहीं कभी नहीं करेंगे. So one is the speculation kind of people, and the second is those who are inclined to devotion. And we see here in a flow chart. Like in school days, we remember we would understand something better with a flow chart, and that's how the mind is. Especially with Gita, when there are flow charts, it's little easier to understand what's happening. So Krishna in 239, Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, text 39, Krishna is saying that there are two classes of men trying to realize self. दो प्रकार के लोग हैं जो अपने आप को समझने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं. First is Sankhya Yoga or analytical study, which is a gradual process. Understanding or study of the spirit and matter, and it's applicable for those who speculate, and so on and so forth. And ultimately, the goal is understanding Lord Krishna, self realization towards the lotus feet of Krishna. But the challenge here is it is a purifying process, no doubt, but it is very gradual. Like in English, they say snail's pace, dhime dhime, very slow process. And the second is that is explained here, which is a more direct process, direct path of purification, where you work in Krishna consciousness and you release from the bondage of action. Why? Because now you depend on Krishna. As Krishna has explained that in Bhagavad Gita chapter 261, wherein the activities are being done, but they're done as a service to Krishna. On the first category, it is only speculation that's happening. But here, activities are done and they're offered to Krishna, which results in a faster path of purification. Here we see the difference between philosophical speculation and Krishna consciousness. One is an indirect path, one is a direct path. Second is there is dependence on personal endeavor. अपने बलबूते पर करेंगे. And the second is I will depend on Krishna. Because on our own endeavor, it is very difficult. What to speak of you and I, dear devotees, even Mother Yashoda found it difficult to obtain Krishna just by herself. When she was doing the Damodar Leela, apne balbute par, even for Mother Yashoda, it was difficult. So you and I are nowhere in the picture. But when we depend on Krishna, then even the impossible becomes possible. In philosophical speculation, Sankhya, there is we are unsure of success. But here in Krishna consciousness, because we're depending on Krishna, there is guarantee, surety of success. Why? Because Krishna is saying it. So in this way, we find Prabhupada in the purport of that verse, Prabhupada very clearly says, the ultimate goal is Krishna. Because the philosophers who are also sincerely searching after the absolute truth come in the end to Krishna consciousness. This is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita. The whole process is to understand the real position of the self in relation to the super self. The indirect process is philosophical speculation by which gradually one can come to the point of Krishna consciousness. And the other process is directly connecting everything with Krishna consciousness. Of these two, the path of Krishna consciousness is better because it does not depend on purifying the senses by a philosophical process. Krishna consciousness is itself the purifying process and a direct method for devotional service. It is simultaneously easy and sublime. So Prabhupada makes it very clear in the third verse purport that Krishna consciousness is the means Krishna consciousness is the goal. When Prabhupada was there in Vrindavan before he came to America, Prabhupada was in a temple called Radha Damodar, very famous. And Prabhupada was translating the Srimad Bhagavatam. So at that time, one friend of Prabhupada came to meet Srila Prabhupada. And he looked at Prabhupada, and Prabhupada that time was translating with a Parker pen. See, Parker pen is very expensive. And Prabhupada in those days, someone had gifted him. So Prabhupada was translating with a Parker pen. So this friend of Prabhupada, he came and said, Swamiji, Parker pen. Because it was something that, 1965, Vrindavan had never seen something like this. So he said, Swamiji, Parker pen. And now look at Prabhupada's reply. Srila Prabhupada said, हाँ, और इसी भागवत को पढ़ के सब जीव जंतु भवसागर पार कर देंगे. when that when that friend he said Parker pen, Prabhupada connect that to Parker. For those who follow Hindi, it means to cross over the ocean of material existence. Prabhupada said, हाँ, इसी भागवत को पढ़कर सारे जीव भवसागर पार कर देंगे. So that's the essence. Even studying Gita, as Prabhupada is saying here, the essence is Krishna. The aim is so that we can also parker and we can cross over this ocean and attain Krishna. And the easiest, direct, fastest path is Krishna consciousness. Text 4. न कर्मणाम अनारंभान नैष्कर्म्यम पुरुषोस्नुते न च संन्यासनात् एव सिद्धिं समधिगच्छति. We see on the left, it is a slogan that the youth use. Sab moh maya hai. For those who are youth, we will say it's very popular that the youth use this. Sab moh maya hai. So is it really moh maya? That's what Krishna is trying to address. Is working, क्या काम करना, क्या नौकरी करना, यदि कोई नौकरी पेशा आदमी है, if someone is working, is that work moh maya really, or is that also service to Krishna? Krishna tries to address it here, and Krishna says, not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain purification. So here Krishna is trying to answer the first question in this fourth verse. Why not to avoid action altogether? Because someone can say that, well, if action, and this is actually explained by Srila Vishweshwara Tirtha Swami of the Madhva Mutt, very popular name and very, very revered figure in the Madhva Mutt. So he presents a point and he says, if action is the root cause of cycle of birth and death, which we all agree, and by avoiding action we can free ourselves from cycle, then why do not birds and animals for whom no action is religiously prescribed automatically get salvation? So he's presenting a point. He's mentioning that, wait a minute, if we just stop action, काम करेंगे तभी तो पाप और पुण्य आएगा. यदि काम ही नहीं करेंगे, if I just sit at one place, for example, then will I get papa? No. Will I get punya? No. So if I'm not getting papa and punya, which means I will not get any reaction, which means I should get salvation. That is the understanding, because I'm not getting any reactions there if I'm not doing any activity. But the point that Krishna is trying to explain here in this verse is, just by abstaining from work, just by sitting at one place and thinking that I will not get papa or I will not get punya and then I will get salvation, Krishna says it doesn't work that way. Why? Because the most important element is purification. The person first has to be purified. Only by purification will one get salvation. Both go hand in hand. If we are just sitting at one place, we are not getting piety, we are not getting sin. Both we are not getting, but we are not getting salvation either. And he answers this question, and he mentions this point that if you see trees, now trees are just standing at one place. Are they doing any movement? Nothing. There is practically no action. So they are having no papa and they are having no punya. So ideally, trees after their life, they should get Krishna. They should get salvation. But it really doesn't happen that way. So just by renouncing activity, one doesn't get Krishna. And just by doing activity also, it's not essential. The point here is one should be doing activity and offering the fruits to Krishna. Krishna makes a point here that when one action is completed, 100 other crop up as consequence of this, and this is an endless cycle of action and reaction. We all agree to this. When we do one action, उसके साथ और 100 आएंगे, and then it becomes a chain reaction. So therefore, it's a only a foolish person can think that by avoiding action I can attain liberation. It is not possible. In the present day and age that we live, avoiding action is impossible. नहीं हो सकता. पराय असंभव है. So without performance of prescribed karmas, one cannot attain purity. Purity is obtained when some action is done. When no action is done, purity is not obtained. And purification is compulsory to get salvation. Purification is compulsory to get Krishna. So Krishna is trying to press on this point that if you simply prematurely renounce, if prematurely you renounce and sit at one place, purification will not happen. Then that renunciation will become a disturbance. वो एक बोझ बन जाएगा. वो जो त्याग है, अगर शुद्धता प्राप्त नहीं किए हो और उसके पहले हम त्याग कर दिए, तो वो त्याग बोझ बन जाएगा. It will become a burden. It will become a disturbance. But when actions are performed and those fruits are offered to Krishna, then through those actions, one gets purification. And that purification is what will help us get the Supreme Lord. So Krishna is trying to encourage and motivate Arjuna that, my dear Arjuna, if you just take sannyas, it will not work. You have to fight and offer this as a service to the Supreme. In verse 5, Krishna is speaking, Nahi kaschit shanamapi jatu tishtitya karma krit कारिते हि अवश्य कर्म सर्वः प्रकृतिर जैर गुणैः. Krishna says that all men are forced to act helplessly according to the impulses born of the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Hmm. The same point that we said. It's very difficult to not do anything. The mind is so chanchal, every single minute we want to do something. Hmm. And if there is nothing to do, this is the best thing. Phone, reels, shorts, videos, some time pass will be there on this constantly. Why? Because the mind is wired such that without doing anything, it's very difficult. We naturally want to move our hands and legs. So Krishna makes this point that refraining from doing something even for a moment is practically difficult. So here Krishna is trying to address this point at how Sankhya Yoga is impractical because soul is active in nature. We are all restless and we are all active. But that active nature that is there should be engaged. उसे कुछ कार्य में लगाना है जो that uh, that nature that is there where we want to do something, if it is not engaged in the right spirit, then it can be catastrophic. But when it is engaged in the right activity, and that right activity is Krishna consciousness, as Krishna is explaining here, then there is no loss. Even if there is a fall down, in the sense, even if one doesn't perfect on the path of Krishna consciousness, it is okay. But still, there will be purification. On the flip side, if one is just doing activities, if someone is doing occupation, but that is dictated by illusionary energy, अर्थात यदि कोई कार्य कर रहा है, but is not dovetailing that for Krishna, then again that's a challenge. Hmm? And again, on the flip side, because the person is always in contact with the material nature, through the material nature, he acquires the modes of material nature. Now, the challenge here is if he doesn't study Shastra or he doesn't do activities that are prescribed in Shastra, then purification will not happen. But if he studies Shastra and then does activities, then there is purification of the soul, which eventually leads to Krishna. So, time and again, Krishna is trying to emphasize on the same point that the soul is naturally active in nature. The soul wants to do something and it finds its perfection when there is active engagement. And active engagement, as explained in Shastra, जैसे हिंदी में बोलते हैं मन मर्जी का मालिक. If we start doing activities just according to the mind, then purification is little far-fetched. But when actions are rightly dovetailed in accordance to what the scriptures have given, then there is quick purification. So here Krishna is saying the renunciation of actions factually means not being attached to them, which means someone can be doing an activity. Like, for example, Prabhupada sometimes would go in a Rolls Royce. The disciples were so um, in such a service attitude, they were in such a service mood that they wanted to gift something to Prabhupada. So they rented a Rolls Royce. And when Prabhupada would get down from the airport, from one place to another, he would go in a Rolls Royce. So when the reporters one time asked Prabhupada that Swamiji, why are you coming in a Rolls Royce? Prabhupada to that he said, why shouldn't I come in a Rolls Royce? My disciples are gifting me. Why shouldn't I come? But then Prabhupada said, when we speak about renunciation, when Krishna speaks about renunciation, it means we do the activity, but we are not attached to it. Prabhupada was not attached to the car. For him, even if you give Maruti 800, he will still sit and go. But the point here that Krishna is trying to explain is when he speaks about renunciation, it doesn't mean that we leave everything. No, it can be a phone, it can be a laptop. Now we are using a laptop for Krishna. We are using a phone for Krishna. So the renunciation that Krishna speaks about in the Gita is not to give up everything, but to use things and not be attached. Use things as a service back to him and not being attached to it. That's the definition of renunciation that Krishna gives. It does not mean actually giving them up, as that is impossible. Neither a wise man nor a fool can refrain from the actions at any moment. All are compelled to act, forced by one's likes and dislikes, influenced by one's attachments and aversions arising out of Prakriti or the material nature. In the Mahabharata, this is a very nice point I felt. In the Mahabharata, it says, if you can control your mind, why go to a forest? If you cannot control your mind, what can you do by going to a forest? I'll repeat it again. If you can control your mind, why go to a forest? And if you cannot control your mind, what can you get by going to a forest? For one who can control the mind, wherever he is, that is the forest and that is his hermitage. So for us, the forest is Zoom. This is our forest. Why? Because here we are learning the art of mind control. So it's a very interesting point that um, mind needs to be controlled. And that's the prime point that Krishna keeps emphasizing time and again throughout in the Bhagavad Gita. Concentrate on mind control rather than action control. When mind is controlled, actions are automatically controlled. But some sort of action is still inevitable. We go to verse number 6. Karmendriyani samyamya ya asthe manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyachara sa uchyate. Krishna, he says, one who restrains the senses and organs of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes him and is called a pretender. Dhongi in simple Hindi language. I'll repeat it once again. Please hear this. One who restrains the senses and organs of action, but whose mind dwells on the sense objects. यानी बाहर से कोई काम नहीं कर रहे लेकिन मन में अभी भी सेंस ऑब्जेक्ट है. Certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. So it's an external show, but internally the mind is still thinking about various sense objects. And Prabhupada there in the purport, he writes that these are those kind of people. So he gives a definition of who are pretenders. What is the characteristic of a pretender? Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 text 6. One, they refuse to work in Krishna consciousness. काम नहीं करेंगे. जैसे हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना काम चोर. काम नहीं करेंगे. They will not want to work. They will make a show of meditation. They will speak on dry philosophy in order to bluff sophisticated followers. They are the greatest cheaters. Mind is impure. Their mind dwells upon sense enjoyment. And then there is no value for knowledge. Why? Because there are effects of such a sinful man's knowledge are taken away by the illusionary energy of the Lord. So here Prabhupada in the purport, but very strongly, mm, he gives on one, two, three, four, five, six, seven symptoms of a pretender. So if we want to check for ourselves, not for someone else, but if we want to check for ourselves, then here Prabhupada gives seven symptoms or characteristics of someone who's a pretender. And the highest on the top is not working in Krishna consciousness, not working for Krishna. Because our aim is so that we work and we dovetail that as an offering to the Supreme Lord. And now, if you see here, verse 6, that Baladev Vidyabhushan, he says, but we see sometimes such sannyasis are there and they may close their senses, they may close their eyes. So, how do we understand that? Because sometimes we see different sadhus or yogis, apparently, they may just sit at one place and their eyes may be closed and they will not be doing any action. So, how do we understand that? And in verse 7, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur answers that. He says, in contrast to this, the householder, that is not the sannyasi, the householder who performs scriptural actions, karma yoga, without longing for the fruits of action, is superior. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, a grahastha, a householder, is far better because he is not running away from his activities. He is doing his activities and offering that to the Supreme Lord. On contrast, there may be someone who's just sitting, some yogi, just sitting at one place but not doing any activity. Prabhupada says that's not what Krishna preaches. What Krishna preaches is active service in Krishna consciousness. He doesn't preach to Arjuna that Arjuna just sit at one place. No. He tells Arjuna, fight, perform your action. So this is verse number 7. Yastvev indriyani manasa niyama niyamayam arambhate Arjuna karmendriyahi karma yogam asakta sa vishishyate. Krishna, in the translation, he says, on the other hand, he who controls the senses by the mind and engages his active organs in works of devotion without attachment is by far superior. Krishna very clearly says, who is superior? सबसे श्रेष्ठ कौन है? One who controls the senses by the mind and engages his active organs, hands and legs, etc., in works of devotion without attachment is far superior. So here we see in text 6 and 7, there are two things that are flowing here. Text 6, the characteristic of a pretender or a cheater, ढोंगी जिसे बोलते हैं, उसका अर्थ क्या है दिया है. They will show that they are in deep meditation, but the mind is still in sense objects. Has his philosophy has no value, and knowledge is stolen by the illusionary energy of the Lord. Arthat, externally it seems that they're doing devotion, but the mind is still thinking about, Prabhupada would say, wine and women. Prabhupada would say a man, if he's sitting just at one place, and if he is not performing actions in Krishna consciousness, and if the mind is not purified, then he will think about these two things, or let's say three things: wine, women, wealth. मन इसी के बारे में सोचेगा, कैसे पैसे बनाना है, आज के जमाने में कैसे दारू शराब इत्यादि पीना है, और परस्त्री गमन. Wine, women, wealth. Why? Because mind is not purified. So we don't want to be in verse 6, in the pretender category. We don't want to be in that category. We want to be in the category where we want to be verse 7, sincere person. So in verse 6, we see those who are pretenders, they show that they're in deep meditation, but internally they still want sense objects. And this is why if someone wants sense objects, if someone wants to enjoy, इसमें गलत नहीं है. इसमें गलत नहीं है. So if someone wants sense enjoyment, there are social orders that Krishna has created. Chaturvarne maya srishtam guna karma vibhagasha. Krishna has given social orders. Can be brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyas. Someone who wants sense enjoyment can go to more grahastha ashram. Someone who is naturally renounced can go to the brahmachari ashram, and so on and so forth. But all these ashrams are glorious. It is not that brahmachari is superior to grahastha or grahastha is superior to vanaprastha, etc. All the four ashrams are equally glorious, and they're designed so that there can be complete purification. When rules and regulations are followed in these social orders, there is gradual purification. So the point Krishna is trying to explain in verse 6 is, if there is desire for sense objects, it is okay, but don't restrain it. Channel it by being in the right social order, because that's where purification will happen. Otherwise, human life will go away, and in the attempt of pleasing others, people may think, oh, this person is very renounced, but internally, if the heart is not renounced, Krishna says that is not very good. So better is to accept where we are and get into the social order. And through the social order, Krishna has designed it such that there will be purification, 100%. And verse 7 talks about a sincere person. Sincere person is someone who controls the senses, mind. Such a person is far superior. And he engages in karma yoga, Krishna consciousness without attachment. And such a person is again far superior. So, far superior to whom? To a pretender. So, verse 6 and 7 are they're flowing back and forth. In the purport that Srila Prabhupada is speaking here, he says, instead of becoming a pseudo transcendentalist, yane dikhava. In English, they say show bottle. Instead of becoming a show bottle, Prabhupada says, follow Varnashram sincerely and get Krishna. बिना कोई कापट के, बिना कोई ढोंग के, without any cheating, genuinely follow Varnashram and go back home, back to God. A householder can reach this destination by regulated service in Krishna consciousness. He lives a controlled life as prescribed in Shastra and carries out business without attachment. Prabhupada there he says, a sincere sweeper, जिसे वृंदावन में बोलते हैं सोनी सेवा, सोहनी सेवा. To sweep in Vrindavan is called Sohani Seva. Prabhupada says a sincere sweeper in the street is far better than a meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. जो केवल धन इकट्ठा करने के लिए ध्यान में लगा है. Prabhupada says such a person is not very great in comparison to someone who is a sincere sweeper. When Prabhupada was there in Vrindavan, in Radha Damodar Mandir, before he came here to America, when Prabhupada was translating his books, that time Prabhupada talks about a old lady. And this old lady was such, she had, every day she had one service. And her service was to go to Yamuna and collect a bucket full of water and bring it back for Radha Damodar. All her life she did that. Because she would say, there is no other service that I know to do except for this one service. So all her life, she did this simple service. She recognized where she is, and whatever she could, she offered the best to Krishna. Went to Yamuna, got a pot of water, and gave it as an offering to Radha Damodar. Prabhupada, in some lectures, he says that lady for sure she will get Krishna. Why? Because she did simple service without cheating anyone by being straightforward. So, sincere sweeper in the street is far better than a meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. So, Bhagavad Gita is a world engaging book and not a world leaving book. Many times people have this notion that if I study Bhagavad Gita, I'll have to renounce everything. ISKCON wale, अरे ये सब कुछ छुड़ा देते हैं. ना, Bhagavad Gita is a book where we engage our heart and our mind in the service of Krishna, not that we leave everything behind. So, in essence, Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna that renunciation is not good. Lord Krishna is not propagating to work for self, but he's explaining one should work for a higher purpose than self. So, without purification, Krishna is saying, don't renounce. Perform your activity, and through your activity, there will be purification, and then there will be natural renunciation, Vairagya. Verse number 8. Niyatam kuru karmatvam karma jyayo hi akarmanaha sharira yatrapichate na prasiddhet akarmanaha. Krishna says, perform your prescribed duty, for action is better than inaction. A man cannot even maintain his physical body without work, which is true. We can't maintain our body without work. Hmm? It's not that we just sit at one place and the body works. Khana chahiye, we have to go outside, buy groceries, cut the vegetables, make something. For every small thing, we have to work. So perform your prescribed duty for action is better than inaction. So here in text 8, we see Krishna is saying prescribed duties are there. Everyone has a prescribed duty. सबका एक कर्तव्य है. If we prematurely renounce it, हम सब कुछ छोड़ दिया, बोले नहीं नहीं हम ये कार्य नहीं करेंगे, अभी भक्ति पढ़ लिए, भगवद गीता पढ़ लिए, अब हम कोई कार्य नहीं करेंगे. If there is premature renunciation, then fall down is guaranteed, which means heart will not be purified in this. And on the other side, if prescribed duties are performed, then there is gradual purification of the heart. But prescribed duties need to be performed in accordance to the Shastra. भगवान जो दिए है उसको सामने रखते हुए हमारा कर्तव्य हमें करना है. So for Arjuna is a Kshatriya. So for him now the prescribed duty is to fight. For a Grahastha, it is to maintain the family, earn money, etc. So whatever activity is there, one should do that without prematurely renouncing. It is made very clear by Krishna. And if by this activity, if someone engages himself, whether it is in war, not renouncing and going to the forest, then that person will get perfection through this. So basically, Krishna is telling Arjuna that work should not be given up without purification of material propensities. व्यक्ति तब तक शुद्ध नहीं होगा जब तक कार्य नहीं करेगा. जब तक हम कार्यरत है हम शुद्धता प्राप्त कर सकते हैं. If we renounce activities, purification will never be there. And Krishna, time and again in this chapter, we will see, time and again he speaks on the same aspect that one should not prematurely give up. And in fact, this is the same point if you see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, one book called as the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu addresses the same point to another servant of his, another associate of his called Raghunath Das Goswami. And Mahaprabhu tells him, don't be a Markata Vairagi. So Vairagi means renunciant. Markata means monkey. Mahaprabhu says, don't be a monkey renunciant. Why monkey renunciant? Monkeys externally look very renounced. They don't wear any clothes. They eat only bananas. And that too, if you're in Vrindavan, they will steal banana, they will steal your glasses, they will steal your purse, they will steal everything. And they don't have a house to stay. They stay from one tree to another tree. So externally, it seems the monkeys are very renounced. But actually, in the animal category, we see monkeys, as far as lust is concerned, monkeys, they top the list. They're very high up there. So externally, it seems they're renounced, but internally, there is no purification. So Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is not different from Krishna, he also says the same point. Don't be a Markata Vairagi. Don't be a monkey renunciant. Hmm? Verse number 9. So last two verses for the day. यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणो न्यत्र लोकोऽयं कर्म बन्धनः तदर्थं कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्त संग समाचर. Krishna is saying work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise work binds one to this material world. केवल यदि कार्य करते रहे और भगवान को समर्पित नहीं किए तो फिर इस जन्म मृत्यु जरा व्याधि के चक्कर में फंस जाएंगे. If the actions are not dovetailed for Krishna, then there will be no purification. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. And in that way, you will always remain unattached and free from bondage. So Srila Prabhupada here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, since one has to work even for the simple maintenance of the body, the prescribed duties for a particular varna and ashram are meant to fulfill that purpose. As we saw in verse 6, Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sanyaas. Krishna consciousness means performing yajna. Doing yajna and serving Vishnu are one and the same. And what is yajna? We will see in the next verse. Krishna and Prabhupada also in the purport, they explain what is yajna. Therefore, one has to work for satisfaction of Vishnu. Any other work done in this material world will cause bondage. and results of working in the above way. This will save us from the reaction of work, karma bandhan. We gradually elevate one to transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to Vaikuntha. So the essence is we perform our work and offer it to the Supreme Lord, Krishna or Vishnu. But if work is done and is not offered as a service to the Supreme Lord, then it will result in bondage. Janma Mrityu Jara bhi adi ke is chakkar mein phase rahenge if the activity is not given as a service to Krishna, because purification will again not take place. So here Krishna talks about yajna. Krishna consciousness means performing yajna, and doing yajna and serving Vishnu are one and the same. And now in the last verse for the day, we will see what is the definition of that yajna, which is verse number 10. Saha yajnair praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavisyadvam eshavostva ishtakamadhuk. We see here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur at the top. He says, now, if you cannot be without desire in the actions, then you should still perform actions offered to Vishnu with desire rather than giving up actions completely. Hmm. So someone can have multiple desires in their actions. So does that mean that because they have desire, they should give up or they should not do the work? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says no. Still do it. Even if you have desires, material desires, चाहे जो हो जाए, कार्य कीजिए लेकिन भगवान को समर्पित कीजिए. Because it is very difficult to think that I will only when I become fully pure, then I will offer my actions to Krishna. It will not happen. By offering our actions to Krishna, by offering our activity to Krishna, that's where the complete cycle of purification takes place. So finally, here in the purport, we see Prabhupada, he says, Patir Yagyapati Prajapatir, Dhyam Patir Lokapatir Dharapatihi, Patir Gatis Chandak Vrishni Satvatam, Prasidata Me Bhagavan Satam Pati. So a lot of patis have been used here in this verse. And essentially, it says the Prajapati is Lord Vishnu. And he is the Lord of all living creatures, all worlds, and all beauties, and all the protectors of, and the protector of everyone. The Lord created this material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform yajna, that is sacrifice, for the satisfaction of Vishnu, so that while in the material world they can live very comfortably without anxiety. And after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performing yajna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. And now, Prabhupada writes, what is the yajna? In the age of Kali, the Sankirtan yajna, the chanting of the names of God, is recommended in Vedic scriptures and is the transcendental system introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Sankirtan yajna and Krishna consciousness go well together. So, what is the yajna? In verse 9, Krishna talks about yajna. In verse 10, even before Krishna has spoken, Prabhupada is given in purport. In so many chapters of Gita, we see Krishna speaks about Bhakti Yoga only in 7 chapter, 7 to 12. Prabhupada speaks about Bhakti Yoga from the first verse, first chapter itself. Prabhupada doesn't waste time. He comes straight to the point. So finally here we see there is the purpose of material creation that is explained. Benefits of yajna have been explained. Cause of conditioning in this world. What is the cause of conditioning? हम इस जगत में क्यों हैं? क्योंकि हम भगवान को भूल गए हैं. भगवान के साथ जो संबंध है, जो सदैव वाला एक संबंध है, वो हम भूल गए हैं उसके कार्य. Because of that we are here. Purpose of Vedic principles are outlined in this verse. Understanding of the Lord as Pati, which means he is the master for all living entities. And finally, the best yajna to satisfy Vishnu in this age is Sankirtan yajna, or chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Having said this, I very humbly stop here, and I want to thank you all for being such a wonderful audience. Hmm. Uh, if there were any mistakes in my presentation, kindly please forgive me. And thank you for engaging my heart and my mind and my tongue so early in the day in speaking about Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Bhagavad Gita ki Jai
Jai.
Ho.
Thank you very much, dear Arjun Sakha, for this wonderful session. We're already seeing a lot of comments coming on the chat box and the various emojis which are flowing up and down. So thank you so much. As is a practice, after every session or at the end of the session, we try to keep the session quite interesting by flashing some quiz questions. So for this session, I have prepared a set of quiz questions, and I'm sure most of you must have been very attentive because today we are seeing that the participant numbers have gone up. But however, it looks like most of them are first timers in Gita Amritam Rasamalayam. So I would humbly request that whoever is first time today, kindly do participate every Saturday. And that will be really interesting because the more participants come, you will also motivate the speakers to come up and speak their best. So I will share the questions now of the quiz, and it is open to all to. Yes, sure. But I don't know what's your name. Samsung SM M515F. How can I add you? You're saying please add me, but please put your name. Malati Gopika. Okay. So also you can send your number and we'll try to add your number. And so now I'm going to share the questions one by one. It is open for everyone. And of course, the rule is that you have to raise your hand, and then we'll pick as a host. We will pick randomly, and then the correct answer will fetch you 50 brownie points, and the wrong answer will fetch you negative 50 brownie points. So you have to think carefully before answering, but they're simple questions and they are all pertaining to today's session only. Okay, so here goes my screen. Let me share. Okay, is the screen visible to all? Can somebody just say yes?
Yeah,
Okay,
we can see.
yes. So here comes the first question on your screen. One can maintain, one can attain freedom from reaction and attain perfection of life by one, abstaining from work, B, complete renunciation alone, C, taking sannyas, D, performing your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. And let me see, there is, yes, and E is none of the above. So the question is one can attain freedom from reaction and attain perfection by abstaining from work, complete renunciation alone, taking sannyas, performing your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and none of the above. So I'm going to pick, let's say, Krishna Mohan Prabhu. Krishna Mohan Prabhu is one of the uh, persons who has raised his hand. Krishna Mohan Prabhu, please come on the video and yes,
हरे कृष्णा
let's
प्रभु
try
धन्यवाद
with
प्रणाम।
darshan. Hare Krishna, दंडवत प्रणाम। अब बताइए प्रभु क्या करेक्ट आंसर है इसमें?
प्रभु जी डी परफॉर्मिंग योर प्रिस्क्राइब्ड ड्यूटीज फॉर हिज सेटिस्फैक्शन।
Let me see what is the answer now. बिल्कुल सही. The answer is performing your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. So here his means it's a capital his. It is not small his. So capital his means it is Krishna. Small his means self. So we should never do things for our satisfaction. We should do things for Krishna's satisfaction. Yasmin tushte jagat tushtim. That is the meaning of that. Okay. So this first question, so the correct answer goes to our Krishna Mohan Prabhu. Very good. Congratulations to
Opens
him.
with a bang.
Sorry,
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
you said something, Prabhu?
He opens with a bang, I said.
Yeah, he opens. He doesn't attend our sessions, but today he came and directly is off to a flyer.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Thank
we
you,
go to
Prabhu.
question
Next
number
time I
two.
will attend, Prabhu. Definitely I will attend from next time.
Thank
Definitely.
you so much.
Thank you,
हमारे
Prabhu. Thank you.
प्रोग्राम का 4 चांद लग जाएगा प्रभु आपके प्रेजेंस से.
Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Okay, now question 2 is coming up on the screen. No one can refrain from doing something even for a moment because of A. Modes of nature in Kali Yuga. B. Everyone wants to prove something. C. The qualities acquired from the modes of nature, that is guna. D. The nature of the soul is to be active. And yeah, E is none of the above. Okay, let me go to who is 252003. Can you tell me the name, your name, 252003?
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी आई एम
Yes,
नीति
yes. अपने आप का नाम क्यों नहीं डाला? Why didn't you put your name so that we can call you, address you by your
एक्चुअली
name?
आई जस्ट लॉग्ड इन टू क्विकली एंड पासवर्ड
Okay,
जो
okay.
आपका सेशन का है
No
वो
problem.
ही मैंने डाल
Where
दिया
where are you based?
सो आई एम फ्रॉम
From where?
गुजरात
Okay.
वेस्टर्न इंडिया
Niti, na?
वडोदरा गुजरात निधि
Nidhi.
NIDHI
Nidhi.
यस
ओके नीति जी आप
यस
बताइए
प्रभु
क्या
जी
सही आंसर है इसका.
तो इसका सही आंसर डी है हमारे सोल का जो नेचर होता है वो एक्टिव रहता है हमेशा सो वी कैन नॉट सिट आइडली बेसिकली
ओके एक बार और पूरा यू हैव अ लुक एट ऑल द आंसर्स एंड यू बिकॉज दिस इज अ मल्टीपल चॉइस. आई एम जस्ट गिविंग अ हिंट. देयर कुड बी मोर देन वन आंसर्स ऑल्सो नॉट नेसेसरी ओनली वन आंसर. ओके तो आप एक बार और देख
ओके
लीजिए अगर एनीथिंग इज फिटिंग. आई एम गिविंग यू हिंट.
तो
ऐसा नॉर्मली देता नहीं है मैं. बट आपको आप फर्स्ट टाइम पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं इसके लिए आई एम लिटिल बिट कंसिडरेट टू यू.
इट इज डी एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम डी सी मोड्स ऑफ नेचर qualities acquired from modes of nature
It is modes of nature in Kali Yuga in A also. So which one you are selecting?
C and D
Okay, let me see. Is it the final answer from your side?
yes प्रभु जी
लॉक किया जाए.
yes प्रभु जी
ओके नाउ लेट मी सी व्हाट इज द आंसर. ये बिल्कुल सही है. सी एंड डी.
thank you
Well done.
Very well done. So please participate in all our future sessions, and you can
sure
also
प्रभु जी
you can have a good chance to score a lot of points. Remember, the person who gets the highest points,
sure
in fact, the first three rankers, as we have our procedure is in every chapter, whoever is the top three, they get some special gift from us. Okay, so we are into chapter
okay
3 now. So already the race has begun. Okay, very good. We move on to question number
thank
3. Okay. Who is a pretender or mithyacharaha? A. One who restrains his senses but dwells his mind on sense objects. B. One who follows four regulative principles and rejects the bad thoughts. C. One who makes a show of renunciation without purification of heart. D. One who rejects material activities. and E, all of the above. So please understand, sometimes the answers could be a little bit tricky. Googly भी हो सकता है. So see carefully. Then I'm going to pick now. I'm going to pick, let me see. I'll pick Yashasvi. Yes, Yashasvi, please go ahead. You are one of the persons who has raised the hand. Hare Krishna.
I think the answer is A and C.
A and C. Who is a pretender? One who restrains his senses but dwells his minds on sense objects. Okay. And C, one who makes a show of renunciation without purification of heart. You are saying A and C?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let us see what is the correct answer. Remember, wrong answer gives minus 50, okay? So, shall I go ahead?
Yes, sir.
You are absolutely right. A and C is the correct answer. Very good. Congratulations. Very good.
All three newcomers, all three start with a bang. Well done.
Yeah, very good. So, just make a note of my number 98701 I repeat, 98701 So, all the newcomers who wish to be part of our regular Gita sessions and they want to be added in our Gita Amritam Rasamalayam group, please do send me a liner and we will immediately add your name. 98701 Okay. So, congratulations to Yashasvi. And we move to the next question now. Question number 4. So, totally there are 5 questions. We are on the 4th question now. Performing your prescribed duties is better than not working because A, inaction is unnatural. B, one cannot maintain one's physical body by not working. C, doing prescribed duties is one's swadharma. And D, all of the above. Tick, 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 tick. Okay, let me ask another newcomer, Abhijit Gupta. Yes, Abhijit, go ahead.
He was also the first, incidentally.
Huh?
He was the first to raise his hand.
Okay. Yes, Abhijit, go ahead. Answer.
I think the answer is B.
Which one? B? B or D?
D, all of the above.
D, all of the above. You're sure? Shall I lock the answer?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Here goes the answer. And the answer is D. Congratulations, Abhijit. Very good. So all newcomers
Well
are
done.
doing extremely well. My goodness. You all are going to give a tough time to the regular participants. Very good. Very good. Keep it up, Abhijit. Come on the video. Why are you not on the video? Let us see your take your darshan also.
Thank you so
Oh,
much, Prabhu.
okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Now we go
So I
to the
used to
last.
attend the sessions, Prabhu. Okay, sir.
Yes, you used to attend the session before?
Yes, I did, but I never spoke anything or answered anything.
Why?
I used to join late, so I thought it's better to not speak.
Okay. So the lesson is join on time from next week onwards
Yes,
and invite
sure, Prabhu.
more of your like-minded friends to participate. Okay.
Yes, I do. Sure.
All right. Let's go to the last question of the day, quiz question. Question number 5. In the age of Kali, the best recommended practice of Yagya, Bhonidhi has already raised her hand. Or is it the previous? I don't know. Okay. She already raised her hand. Worship of Devatas, meditation in the forests, Sankirtan Yajna, temple worship, fire sacrifice Yajna. Yes, Bhuvanidhi, we'll give you a chance because you raised first.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Option C.
C, Sankirtan Yajna, and this is the right answer. Great. Congratulations, Bhuvanidhi. Keep it up. And I think you already have some brownie points to your name from the previous sessions. So you're adding 50 brownie points to that. Very good. Congratulations. And with that, we conclude the quiz sessions. And maybe we can spend 5 to 8 minutes maximum on any reflections by anyone. Anyone wants to share any reflection? A quick 2 minutes. We'll give away one or two participants chance. Whatever they want to share about today's session, what they learned, and they can share. So who wants to go? I'm sure Saptadeep will be eager. So nobody? Whatever comes to your mind of today's session, which is going to help you or something like an eye opener for you based on what has been described by the Acharyas and which has been brought up today by Arjun Sakha Prabhu, please feel free to share. 2 minutes. Yes, Saptadeep.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Dandavat Pranam to everyone. Arjun Sakha Prabhu also, Dandavat Pranam. Some reflections is that we should always do our prescribed duties, never follow the path of inaction, and that is unnatural also, and we cannot do it actually like that. And always, whatever we do, we should be means that should be in Krishna consciousness. We should do it by thinking about Krishna only, and offer the fruits and the results of our work to Krishna. So we should do always all our activities, no matter whether in our professional life or in devotional life, we are doing for Krishna only. Even in professional life, we should always think that if we are earning money, we are earning it for Krishna only. It will go for Krishna service only. That is one of the key things. And the last point which Prabhu has said, that in this age of Kali, Sankirtan Yaga is the best. Chanting the holy name, doing Sankirtan. That is I think Sripad Ayendra Prabhu also used to say that Kirtan and Japa, these are the most effective way and the fastest way to purify ourselves. For purification, doing chanting the holy name and also Sankirtan. In fact, hearing Katha also, that is also one form of Kirtan. And that singing for the Lord, that is also very effective. So these are the 2 points I would like to mention. The rest you can.
Very nice. I think you have grasped the essence.
Thank you.
But may I know what we'll achieve after doing all this? What is your thought on that? What are we going to achieve?
The final achievement which everyone wants is to be eternal servant on the lotus feet of.
I'll be pertaining to today's understanding. What Krishna says, if we do this, what result we'll get? What is the benefit?
The benefit is that we will be able to purify ourselves. Our mind will be more in our control. And if the mind is in our control, the senses will be controlled. And that way we will be more focused, and will be our purification will be faster, and we will always remain in Krishna consciousness. Our mind will be focused on Krishna, and in order to attain his service, which is the ultimate goal.
Right. So purification is you will achieve purification, and from purification, you will be released from karma bandhan. That is the main thing.
Yeah.
Because every action will have bondage, and our objective is to be released from that bondage. That is what Krishna is saying in today's verses that Arjun Sakha has described. All right. Thank you so much. Anybody else wants to share? We just have around 2 minutes time left. And there's an opportunity. Anyone wants to share? Any personal realizations also you can share in this? If not, we'll call it a day. All right. So no hands raised as I can see. So we thank Arjun Sakha for really giving us his valuable time, early morning hours. It's a Japa time in Seattle, but yes, and of course, but today being a Saturday, I don't think there's other work pressures, but but there might be some temple duties. I don't know what all he is carrying, but we thank him, and we also request that maybe we should have him at least once in a month. What do you all say? Once in a month is a good chance to have him. All of us. Okay. So right. Lot
Yes,
of hands
Guruji.
up. Yes, very good. So thank you all once again, and we end the session now. And as I said, please do participate in all our Saturday sessions on systematic study of Bhagavad Gita. And we all want to go together as a family to board the train Goloka Express and reach the destination of Goloka Dham. Hari Bol. Thank you once again, everyone. With this, we end. Hare Krishna to all. Have a good night and also a nice
Hare
weekend.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dhanapana Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Dandavat
Hare
pranam Krishna Mandu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.